Episode 4 of 20, connecting authentic PBL with personal values and goals. We're into episode 4 at this point, so it seems like a good time to bring in an embarrassing childhood story. When I was very young, we'd go to my mom's side of the family in Ohio, and that meant that all the adults were going to talk and the kids were left on their own. And for me, when I was young, that meant running. I just ran. And they didn't have a super big backyard, so I would just run around this tree. I would chase people, they could chase me. I didn't care. I was running. So I got the nickname Running Ryan. Hey, there's Running Ryan. Running Ryan, so good to see you every time we came in. Thanks, Uncle Dick. Appreciate it. Running Ryan, Running Ryan. Well, somewhere in there, things changed for me, and eventually my nickname was Crying Ryan. So I don't know if I was falling more or I got gangly, right? But somehow I was falling and crying. So now it's Crying Ryan. Oh, hey, here's Ryan. Oh, no, Crying Ryan. Well, as I got a little better, eventually I got older and I went back to Running Ryan and ran through middle school and high school and did pretty well there. So I kind of went through this progression of Running Ryan to Crying Ryan to Running Ryan. And we use that as a metaphor for when you get started, you've got to crawl, walk, and run. And I'm going to walk you through this metaphor for you as administrators. We think it's kind of important to use some of the same terminology because we actually use this with your teachers in the Binge PBL podcast for teachers. We're going to use this same metaphor of crawl, walk, and run because we want them to have grace as they start in their classroom. Like give yourself grace. You've got to find a place to start out. You got to get moving, and then eventually you'll be running like these other PBL teachers that you see. Same thing for you as an administrator. So what does crawl look like? Crawl, I think you're in that stage right now, right? You're binging all this PBL info that you can get. What's the vocabulary? Why is this important? Who do I trust in the PBL world to bring into my school and start this vision? Because you don't want to restart this vision. We when we say vision, we usually say 3 years. So in design days, we plan out 3 years with you and your leadership team. Don't let it just be you. Like, yes, you should bring the vision. I think that's part of your job, but you should not hold that torch by yourself. Bring in your leadership team, APs, coaches, lead teachers. Let them also carry this, right? So that it's not just your voice saying, hey, this is a good idea. You've got teachers in the classroom that are implementing and they're saying, yes, this is a good idea, guys. We need to do this. So I think you're on that path of in the next episode, you get a free book, free copy of PBL Simplified. So you're going to walk through that process. By the way, in that book, there's 2 chapters specifically for you as administrators on implementation. So if that's where you're at right now, this is going to be super helpful for you. So you're going to crawl, right? Get a bunch of information, just intake the data. We're good at that as leaders, right? And you're going to separate that data in your brain and what's going to work for you. You should always be saying, like, how is this going to work for me? The second thing you're going to do to start walking is go walk into someone else's school that's using project-based learning. Go take a school visit. Imagine while you're there, imagine that you're observing that class that you're seeing. You might even bring your evaluation with you, like, because you shouldn't be there by yourself again, right? Like bring your leadership team, bring a few people that say, hey, I'd like to investigate this, and bring out the evaluation, walk into a PBL teacher's classroom and say, how would I do this? Am I ready for this? Is our evaluation ready for this? Is this where we want to go? Because there might be some fundamental things that you need to change. And whenever we give a tour at one of our national PBL model schools, we give you a chance to talk to a panel of students, a panel of teachers, and all the administrators. But then we also want you to have super informal time. So you get a bunch of time to just go talk to the learners on their own when they're not, upfront and polished, although they're always super honest. So it doesn't matter. They always give you the real deal, which is why I love school visits. You want to get it from people that are actually doing this work in the trenches. You want to see it. I always recommend you try to find a learner that doesn't seem like they're paying attention and go ask them, like, how's this PBL thing working? That was actually one of my big kickstarts into PBL. I was doing just this. I was at a school visit as a teacher, and I found a learner that had headphones in, and had a book open, but was sitting at what they have is this really collaborative space called the Collaborador, and it's like a restaurant style booth. So he's just sitting there and does not look like he's engaged. Doesn't seem like he's a point getter, right? So I'm like, this kid's not paying attention. So I go over and sit on the other side, which is awkward, right? So he stops, looks up. Oh, hey, this person wants to talk to me. And I just said, hey, can you tell me what you're doing in your PBL unit? And it was like boom, 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 boom. The novel he was reading fit into, his PBL unit perfectly, and it's exactly what he was supposed to be doing. And I also had someone like yourself, I had an administrator come into my classroom for a school visit, because school visits, once you're doing the work, are really important for you too. You want people to come see the good work you're doing, because then your learners say, well, why is that person here? Because we're doing amazing work and they want to know about it. And it starts to build your culture and pride in the work you're doing. So this principal comes up, and I think Reed was like 6'6", and he comes up to one of my learners, Skylar, who I talk about a lot in my book, and he puts his hands down on Skylar's desk. And Skylar had black hair and some piercings, and Skylar kind of looks up at him, and Skylar was Skylar and still Skylar, and he wasn't going to be super pleasant at first because it was somebody new, and that wasn't really Skylar's jam. And so Reed says, so why does this work? And Skylar says, well, it's family, man. This is my family. Like, they get me, they care about me beyond grades. So I care about them, and we all do better. And Skylar's now that kid that I mentioned in the very first intro episode, that he is now out in LA. He's an Instagram influencer. You go to @Skylar Wagner on Instagram, and you'll see all of his stuff. He's working with Nike, Monster Energy drink. And this was a kid that grew up. He was part of the free and reduced lunch at our school. He was on the southwest side of Indianapolis. His only ambition when he was like a sixth grader was just to skate with his buddies. And project-based learning completely changed his life. And it's amazing to see. It's fun to see just how much fun he's having, honestly. He's doing exactly what he wants to do. He's a freelance photographer, completely self-taught. He would say that he's a lifelong learner, and that's what got him there. And he's continuing to learn business now, and he's absolutely crushing it. It's amazing. But all that starts with school visits. Like, go see the work in action and see how it applies to you. And then when you're ready for design days, we actually hold your design days in a PBL model school. So you can show your leadership team, like, hey, let's go look at this classroom. And then you come back into your home base and you start to build it out for your school. And then you go back out. So, well, let's go talk to these teachers that we wanted to talk to. And then you come back and, well, how do you do your schedule? And you come back and you build your schedule. And then you talk to the administrator, right? And then you come back and you build your administrative plan. So you get to build your 3-year plan in one of our PBL model schools. We think it's so powerful to see the work and be in that culture and in the environment. We still have a couple more things that we need to go, because when you are running now, when you're running, PBL has to fit your personal values and your leadership values and the goals that you have, which means you have to be able to define those things. Like, what are the values that you espouse, and what are the ones that you portray to your staff? What are the values of your school? You should probably have 3, right, that are really strong that everybody knows. 3 is a number I just made up, but I can tell you it works. It's in a lot of schools that we see and that we interact with. They're really strong. When you think about your personal values, you want to see how it compares to the values of PBL. So the things that we're talking about in this series, I would claim are our values of PBL. As you hear those different things, how does it interact with yours? Because there might be some that are at odds, and that's okay. So take this value activity, and we'll put the link in the show notes. I get this from James Clear, at least the core values of Atomic Habits, and he lists all these core values, and you can go through and just pick 10 of them. Like, what are the 10 that just pop off the page? Like, boom, 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 boom. Go ahead and write them down. And once you write them down, stop for a minute, get a drink, and now narrow it down to 5. And this is a little more difficult. Now you've got these 10 values. They're all important. Like, Mr. Clear didn't just say, hey, here's some random ideas. Like, he's a smart dude. You should get his newsletter. I love it. And he's got them listed on there because they're important and because they are values to you. But you want to get to your top 5. What are the things you really believe? Bonus points if you will go to your leadership team and say, what do you think my values are? When you look at this list from James Clear, what do you think my values are? And see how others value what you believe. Like, it's a really interesting process. It starts to build that transparency and invites people into the work. So once you look at your values, And you look at values of PBL, like transparency might be one. Giving your staff some power might be tricky at first because you like things to be organized, right? You're a detail-oriented person. You like to be organized. You like to know what's happening when. You don't give up all of that, but you need to give up some of that. You need to say, hey, staff, I'd like 6 of you to come together and plan the next staff meeting with a bunch of voice and choice. I want you to get more teachers involved. Some of you, I don't know about that, right? So, and it's okay that those might be in conflict. We just need to talk about those and make sure it's transparent, right? Because you want your school to be this high functioning PBL model. This is exciting. So part of this is giving you grace as well. You're not going to do this perfectly, but what we want to do is that when you're ready to launch that vision to your staff, we want you to be as comfortable as possible. And that's why we have this Binge PBL podcast for administrators. All right. So if you are on your legs and you're ready to run, there's another resource I have for you. We'll have a resource with every one of these episodes. There's a free administrator masterclass. So if you're ready to run faster in your PBL journey, the PBL masterclass for administrators is going to give you a full overview of launching your project-based learning vision. Will you be a PBL guru by the end of this class? No, but the masterclass will help you jump into the full vocabulary and processes of PBL to give you an overview in less than an hour. So you might want to jump to that and then come back to this. Totally up to you. Everybody does it a little bit differently. Some people just jump right into design days, which is awesome. We're happy to attend to those high Ds. But if you're an SC and you're a detail-oriented person that wants to see the whole venture before we jump in, the masterclass might help give you some of that overview and then come back to this to get even more details. Before you start running, you likely want to know what's ahead of you. So in this case, you want to know how PBL visits within your, how it fits within your district initiatives. So if you're going to have PBL at your school, how does that fit with your district? So let's figure that out together. Let's look at the next episode.